to the newest episode of the Figures Flippy S podcast, where we talk about our top moments, our choices for top moments of the week in wrestling, and we also talk about the things that we just did not like for the week. Because we are going to talk about AEW and WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, whenever we talk about Collision, it's from the September 9th episode, because this is just filmed before...
Yeah, it goes up on Sunday, but we film on Saturday.
Yes.
So we haven't seen the newest Collision yet.
No. But we can start with our dislikes, and Chris always has a lot more dislikes than I do.
Well, this time I only have 3.
Okay, well, you go ahead and start with your dislikes, though.
Okay, well, my number 3 is, I understand that they are trying to make NXT into more of an equal brand. I get it. But I don't know how I feel about 2 of NXT's titles sitting with main roster people right now. Because after NXT on Tuesday, Becky Lynch is your NXT Women's Champion. And Dominic has already been NXT North American Champion. And I just feel like there's enough talent in NXT that if you want to bring in main roster stars to make it feel equal, that's fine. But I don't necessarily think they need to be holding the titles. I think NXT needs to stay in its focus and focus on the future. And I just don't know what value having a main roster person holding an NXT title is. Because I understand that it's made to feel like the NXT title is just as big, that a main roster star would want it. And maybe this is just, because, when we started in NXT, it was literally referred to as down there, back there. Mm-hmm. It feels like anybody that's getting an NXT title, it's almost like they're getting demoted. And I hate that for NXT, and maybe that's not it for everybody. But for me, it just feels like it's a case of, hey, you need something important, but we don't want to disrupt what we have going on, so just take one of NXT's titles for now until we get it figured out. And that's what I feel like with Dom.
I agree with Becky Lynch, because that's just like, Becky doesn't need a title. Like, she didn't have to come to NXT and take away from the talent that's kind of still in developmental.
Yeah, and if it's a case of where, you wanted Becky to have that just to say it's on her resume, that's fine. But I don't think you do that to Tiffany Stratton just a couple months after she's won it.
Yeah.
I would use that as maybe somebody that has had the title for a while and you need a transitional champion to get it off of them, but you don't have somebody quite ready to do that.
Yeah.
Then maybe a Becky Lynch would fit in there, because then you could build a massive star off somebody beating her for it to take it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't know. Doing that to Tiffany Stratton so short into her reign, I don't know if that was the way to go with that.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad for Tiffany Stratton on that.
Yes.
And maybe it should be fine. Maybe this whole thing is designed for Tiffany Stratton to get it back
main
at No
roster,
Mercy.
maybe.
Who knows? Yeah.
I was thinking maybe go to the main roster, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yes.
So yeah, that was my number 3 dislike this week. Was, like I said, it's not the end of the world. I don't necessarily feel like that's fair to NXT talent to pretty much shop all their titles out.
I agree.
What are we going to end up with? Roman taking Carmelo Reigns' title?
That would be, Roman would have to come to work.
This is true. And he'd have to go to NXT to boot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
because I see what you're doing, because they had somebody wrestle Carmelo Hayes for the NXT title. Finn Balor wrestled him and stuff, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Carmelo's reign is still intact and still going, and I don't know why we couldn't do that with Tiffany.
Agreed. Yeah. But what was your number 2?
My number 2 goes back to Dominic Mysterio. They keep teasing this thing with him and Cody. We did this match at Money in the Bank, and we've been so far away. I just feel like Cody's in neutral. And I feel like everybody's fear was that Cody was going to cool off before he got back around to Roman. And I feel like with his booking right now, that's entirely possible that could become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Because Cody is literally stuck in neutral, and I love Cody Rhodes.
But
Cody Rhodes is not really doing anything of interest right now to me.
Yeah.
Everybody has a war going on with the Judgment Day, and I understand that, but how do I put this? Cody feels like he needs something else.
Yeah.
Cody should have a whole other war going on.
Well, I will agree, that's also my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So Cody's still being feuding maybe with Dom is still that's
but
old
they
news
but
to
they
me.
tease it so much, like, oh, they interact and then like we don't do anything with it.
Yeah. So I agree. That was also my number 2 dislike.
Yeah.
And I only have 2 dislikes for the week, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna, hell, honestly, something that would make Cody feel different and help somebody really get over, honestly, I would have brought up Braun Breaker to feud with Cody. That would be a good way to get Braun Breaker established. He could flourish in his heel personality. Cody could put him over Braun could put Cody over, but Cody could really have to work for it.
Yeah.
Kind of like Cody and Sammy in his last match in AEW. That's maybe something I would have done there. I think Braun Breaker could have benefited from that, because I also, while Braun Breaker's doing awesome things in NXT, I feel like, too, he is in neutral.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like after he lost his title, it was time for him to go, and it feels like now he's just kind of
hanging out.
I saw somebody online put it in a good way. Braun seems like that dude that graduated high school but still hangs around the high school.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
yeah.
I get that vibe.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, this is something I would do. It's not necessarily the best choice, but I mean, I think it would give Cody something different to do, and Braun would have benefited.
Okay, yeah. Well, what's your number 1?
My number 1, and WWE's been guilty of this for a while. Last night on SmackDown, I'm sure it's made its rounds by now, Rock showed up. The Rock showed up. And he did a segment with Austin Theory and with Pat McAfee.
Yes.
And one of the things that they did was Rock at one point said, you know, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have one side of the arena cheer you are, and the other side chant an asshole. And of course, WWE muted that. So
but it was very funny because at one point in time they got it messed up. They were muting you are, and an asshole would come through.
Well, see, here's the issue that I had. The entire point of that segment was to show how much The Rock had the crowd in his hands, which is great. Do that. But when you have the half of it on fucking mute because somebody said asshole, it completely took me out of the segment. I did not get from it what I was supposed to get. They were talking about how great the Denver crowd was. I didn't hear it. I just heard mute because God forbid a 7-year-old hears asshole. It's said every fucking day. When we walked through the streets of New York, I heard every curse word under the sun that people were just using. There were people walking through New York with their 7-year-olds with their fingers over the ears. Don't hear the naughty words. There's sex on TV. There's drinking in clubs on the radio. Asshole is not that big a deal. Like, I've heard 6-year-olds call other 6-year-olds assholes. Like, it just, to me, it just ruined the segment. And the fact that WWE kidifies their shit down like that really bothers me. Like, whenever something big happens and we get a holy shit chant, half of it's muted. If somebody starts talking, cool, I've missed half their promo because the little precious toddler couldn't hear the word asshole or holy shit. Shit that I'm sure their parents say every fucking day. So, I'm tired of the muting. Let's all be fucking adults and realize it's 2023 and there are more adults in the world than children. So we don't have to cater everything to kids. Not everything has to be for them. We can have some things for the adults. That's why cartoons have so many adult jokes that go over kids' heads. Yeah, I don't like the muting. It takes me out of the moment. It breaks up the show. It's annoying. Just let it ride. End of rant. I told you it wouldn't be as bad as last week's rant.
Well, my number 1 is
but it still
nothing,
irritates me.
I mean, my dislikes do not tend to irritate me like they do you. Mm-hmm. Mine is just Becky winning the title. I didn't like that she beat Tiffany. That's really all that mine was for the number 1. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting heated like you.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, I feel like that is the true definition of dislike. But yeah,
if you get heated enough, yes.
It does. It drives me up the wall.
See, it doesn't bug me because so what? I don't hear the word asshole. I know what's being said. I know they're chanting.
It's not the point that I want.
Nobody was talking.
It's not the point that I want to hear the word. It's not about the word. It's about hearing the crowd and because the crowd is just as much a part of the show. If you have a hot crowd, it's going to increase the quality of your show because it's going to feel bigger. But if the crowd's on mute for 3/4 of the time because they're using a naughty word, like, I don't get that. I'm missing that piece of the show. I'm missing that crowd.
It just didn't bug me. I don't know. I knew what they were saying. I knew they were loud. It didn't bug me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe if they would have been like talking during it, that would have bugged me. But they literally just stood there. So like, I'm not upset.
I tell you what. I'll end it on a joke to lighten the mood. If you want to mute something for me to tie into my rant last week, and you know this on a personal level, if you want to mute something for me, feel free to mute Jamie from Progressive.
I knew you were going to talk about that commercial. I knew it.
Progressive is a cult. A cult in the commercials. In the commercials. In real life, I doubt it. But in the commercials, they definitely are cultish.
Well.
I could do a whole video on the cult of Progressive.
Okay. Yeah. Well, are you ready to get into the positives?
Yeah, I think we should do that now.
Yes. Well, what was your number 10 most liked thing of the week?
For me, my number 10 was the Austin Theory and Rock segment. It probably would have been higher if it wasn't for the muting. But you can definitely tell that they want to do something with Austin Theory because now he's had a match with Cena at Mania, and he's the only one that was in the segment with The Rock. The Rock didn't even interact with any of the Bloodline, which I thought that was odd. But at the same time, if Rock's not there to feud with the Bloodline, it kind of would have been a pointless thing. So I guess depending on where this goes, if it goes nowhere, then it makes sense that he didn't interact with Bloodline. But if we are going somewhere with it, it would have been cool to have a tease.
Yeah.
But I kind of got the feeling from last night's segment this is kind of a one-off.
Yeah.
Even with the strikes, I think it's just going to be a one-off.
Yeah.
But that being said, the parts of the segment I could hear when it wasn't muted were really fun. And, you know, Pat McAfee looked like every excited 12-year-old ever. Like, if somebody was told, hey, you're going to get to be in the ring with The Rock while he verbally undresses someone, and you're going to be like, yeah, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
Despite the muting, it was a fun segment. I still have fun. But, and this is probably going to sound really semantic, but if the muting was gone, this probably would have been a lot higher on the list. So what was your number 10?
My number 10 was Mark Sterling and Jade returning.
Dude, that almost made my list.
Yeah. They came back on Collision, and I don't know, I like Mark Sterling. I like Jade, and I like that Jade got to have, like, a final send-off before she goes to, like, WWE.
Yeah, what a run.
I like that.
She comes in, she wins, 61 straight matches, I think is what her streak was at.
I mean, most of them were jobbers.
They were, but still, like, it's a pretty cool little run when you put it in the context of things. You know, go 61-0, drop 2 matches to Statlander, out you go. And you've established this new title along the way.
But she kind of had, like, a Roman Reigns title run where she didn't wrestle that much.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you just knew she was going to win the matches. And so, like, I like Jade, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like her title run was that impressive. I don't care about that kind of, like, I don't know.
I feel like it did a good job of establishing her ability to be a star. Like,
yeah, but they didn't let her wrestle enough to even begin to improve.
No, they didn't. But at the same time, I feel like she kind of comes from that area of wrestlers where they don't necessarily need to be good in the ring if the character work is good enough.
Jade needs to be better in the ring.
She needs to be better in the ring based on today's standards.
Yes.
But, at least get her up to, I don't know, like LA Knight quality, where LA Knight's not great, but he's serviceable in the ring, and most of his stuff is done outside the ring. I could see Jade taking that path.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like you said, I agree with you. I think she's got to cultivate those skills. And I think with her, reportedly, it seems to be all but a done deal. She's going to WWE. I think the Performance Center is going to be a great asset for her.
Yeah.
To be able to have that and access that. I know in AEW she was training with Bryan Danielson and everything like that. But NXT, you can tell from the talent that's there. The Performance Center has such a good structure to it.
Not all the talent. We still have the Avas and like...
Yeah. Well, but a majority of the talent, it shows that the Performance Center is definitely something that clicks on all cylinders when it's clicking.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think that'll be a good asset for her.
Well, what was your number 9?
My number 9 was... Let me find it again here. I like the stuff with Gunther this week. They did like a championship celebration for him, and Imperium came out in like suits, which was a really cool look for them.
Yeah.
But it definitely seems like Gable's kind of still hanging around, but Ciampa Tommaso Ciampa inserted himself into the picture by coming out and helping Alpha Academy, which ended up in a 6-man on Raw. So I'm kind of wondering where we're going to go from here, because while I love Chad Gable, I think Chad Gable lost his rematch outright. There was no issues. It was just a straight one-on-one loss. I think logically he has to take a step back at this point. But I do think there is gold for Gable in his future. I think what this feud was supposed to accomplish for Gable, I think accomplished it in spades. Alpha Academy is now really, really over, which is great, because I've loved Alpha Academy for a long time.
You have, yes.
So it's nice to see the crowd kind of follow that. But I wouldn't be upset with Gunther and Ciampa tearing it up. And Wade Barrett mentioned something on commentary that Tommaso Ciampa was no stranger to Imperium because of their work in NXT. Well, we weren't watching NXT at that time, so I don't know what all went on there. But I am interested to see where it goes, because I'm really glad that we've brought back Tommaso Ciampa, and he seems like he's going to be more of NXT champion.
Yes, like the hard-hitting.
Yeah. So that was my number 9. I just really enjoyed Gunther. I think it was absolutely the right call to reward him with the longest reign. Yeah. Because a dude's been phenomenal, and he's going to be a phenomenal world champ too when he's done with this.
Yeah, agreed. Well, my number 9 was the Eddie and Claudio. They had this intense sit down with Tony Schiavone on Collision, and like, oh man, of course Eddie Kingston got really into it. Like, Eddie Kingston is just so good at making it seem like what he's saying is like real life. Like, he just has so much emotion behind everything that he says, and it's just like, I don't know.
I've always loved when people said that Eddie Kingston's gimmick in wrestling is that no one ever bothered to tell him that wrestling was a show.
He was so mad, like, because Eddie, he does really well making it like seem personal. Like, he brought in how Claudio like knew his family, like he met his family, and like all this other stuff. And it's, I don't know, everything that Eddie Kingston does, I usually really like, and that did not disappoint this week also. So
I agree.
Yes.
I'll talk about a little bit about that later on my list.
What was your number 8?
My number 8, I really love that the Usos being on different shows, and the Judgment Day being the undisputed tag champions, so they can be on both shows.
Yeah,
has crossed over. I love that Judgment Day is shooting their shot with both Usos. Like, Finn's putting in the recruitment work, man. Like,
putting in the work, and Big Brother time, man. He would be like killing it, making alliances.
Yeah, he would. He would. Yeah, Finn's been watching Big Brother, I think. But yeah, he's been shooting his shot with both Usos. I love the fact that we've continued the continuity of everybody that Jay has helped screw thanks to the bloodline is after him.
Yes.
They blame him.
Yeah.
And we did even a little more teasing with him accidentally kicking Kevin Owens in the face during their tag match against Judgment Day.
Yes.
So I'm really interested to see where this goes, because the Usos are separated. They're both being recruited by Judgment Day, and I'm not sure. Well, Finn did mention to Jimmy that he's been talking to his brother.
Yeah.
And I love that I love that Finn sold both of them, because they both are on the outs with the bloodline because they can't handle Roman and his control. So I love that Finn's main point is, hey, there's no leader here. Everybody's equal. Like, that's a great pitch to make to two guys that have been scorned by the group they were in just because the leader went nuts.
Yes, yes.
So I really like, this feels like smart storytelling to me. Smart. This seems like something that makes the characters feel smart.
It seems like something that Vince McMahon did not have control over.
Yeah. Yeah, this seems like somebody looked at something and said, hey, we can connect these dots easily and it'll make sense. And I really like when wrestling makes sense. It really validates it as a form of storytelling when it makes sense.
Yes.
So that was my number 8.
All right. Well, my number 8 was from NXT, and it was Ilya Dragunov and Wesley's match. It was such a good match. It was intense. I feel like Wesley, like, R.I.P. he dead now. Like,
that match.
But he left NXT too. So like after he lost, Wesley was like, I'm going home or something like that. And he leaves with his wife, who was randomly there. So,
and that all started in a segment where Trick and Carmelo were talking. So I really like NXT did this twice this week, where they kind of used one segment to tell two stories.
NXT I cannot give enough praise to NXT because yes, there are times where things happen that I'm like, this is so ridiculous. And a lot of that time was with...
You had that issue with Tony D'Angelo in jail.
Yes, like that. Sometimes it's like just a little too out there. But I love NXT because they do experimental things. They're really good with storytelling, and they book the women's division very well on NXT.
Yeah.
So I just love that match though. Yeah. It was a good one. And I love NXT.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What was your number 7?
My number 7 is also NXT related. And it kind of relates to something that I talked about earlier. I'm just really enjoying Braun Breaker in NXT right now. Like, I love that, like, him and Corbin had a segment where he was, like, being serious about, like, Von Wagner's skull getting crushed on last week's NXT.
Why did you laugh at that?
Because I love how dramatically it was played up.
I know, like, the camera going off and, like, black background. You can just hear Vic Joseph, like, yelling.
Yeah, and you hear Corbin, he did it! But I love Corbin comes out, and he does this kind of somber sounding promo, and then he ends it with saying that it was the most awesome thing he's ever seen. So then Braun Breaker comes out, and him and Braun Breaker are talking about how great it was. And then Braun Breaker just stops in the middle of it and just yells, "Idiot!" like at Baron Corbin. And then like turned the whole promo where he pretty much told Corbin he didn't need his approval. He didn't care really what he thought. I feel like Braun Breaker's really finding himself as a heel.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed his work since he turned heel. And that's me saying still earlier that it felt like Braun was spinning his wheels.
Yeah.
And being like the cool guy that graduated high school that stuck around. Don't get me wrong, I'm still enjoying what he's doing. Because he's just there literally to commit murders and cause chaos.
Yes.
And I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Absolutely fine with that. So, yeah, that was it pretty much. I really enjoy Braun Breaker's work right now.
My number 7 is whenever there was chaos. It was like the Blackpool Combat Club. I don't remember who else was there, but I know there was like a zoom in, like there was chaos going on, and then there's just a zoom in on Claudio and Eddie. Again, they're on the second time on my list. I just really like them together. But there's a zoom in on Claudio and Eddie Kingston, and they're just like staring each other down when there's chaos. Like I know Jon Moxley was, I'm sure, making somebody bleed. I'm sure, like, I can't remember who else was there though. Oh my god.
It was the Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Because he's fighting Phoenix on Wednesday.
Okay, man. All I remember is like the zoom in. And I don't know why I loved the zoom in so much, but I loved it. I think it's just because they just looked so intense. Like there was just chaos and they're just like standing there looking at each other in a very intense way. And I liked it. Well, what was your number 6 for the week?
My number 6 was... Honestly, and it's for nostalgic purposes, honestly. My number 6 was the Jericho and Sammy Guevara video package that they showed on Dynamite.
That was such a... Yes.
Because that just, like seeing how young Sammy Guevara looked and all the inner circle stuff, like, it just... It brought me back to, like, the early days of AEW.
And
like,
the early days of AEW,
like...
The early days of AEW... I honestly think was the best wrestling show that we watched at least. I know there's like a million other wrestling shows that we just don't have time to watch, but in my opinion, AEW when it first started, it was like at the perfect time too because WWE was starting to get that decline, and like I don't know, you had NXT Black and Gold or Black and Gold NXT, whichever
it was still Black and Gold,
but
its quality was starting to dip
AEW
too.
was just this new thing because I didn't know like anybody because there were a lot of indie wrestlers and like it was just this whole new world for me. So like
it was a lot of people that we had just heard of in name
yes. So
and
AEW,
even then, I wouldn't even say
I just feel like AEW beginning was just such a magical time. It
was, and look what it's done for the industry since then.
Right, people can hate on AEW all that you want, but
AEW
they've made an impact.
AEW's existence is a very good thing for the wrestlers.
It's competition. Like, so WWE doesn't have this, they don't monopolize wrestling world. So like, WWE had to get better, I feel like, because of AEW. And I just love it. And it just makes it so there's so much wrestling to watch.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my number 6. I just enjoyed watching that package and going back and reliving a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was fun, and it hit me in the feels because it was nostalgic. It was like, man, I remember that.
We do love our nostalgic things. We definitely love nostalgic.
And that's what's cool for us with AEW is we were there watching day one. We watched the original All In.
We got to go
Double or Nothing.
AEW, I also have a soft spot for AEW because they come to Charleston, West Virginia, and they do shows there. West Virginia, we are always forgotten about. WWE might come to Wheeling, West Virginia, and have a house show, but we don't get live shows in West Virginia. Our closest is Pittsburgh to us, at least.
Yeah.
So it's exciting that AEW came to us and they made West Virginia seem important, and I don't know, I just loved it. My number 6 though. And I think the Jericho and Guevara match will be good. I agree. Yes.
I think it'll be good.
Yes. I kind of feel like it's going to be Jericho passing the torch. Okay. I hope at least. I don't
Jericho,
know.
I think Jericho might win, and that's going to keep eating at Sammy.
Oh, maybe. I mean, if it gets Sammy Guevara on the cruise again, well, he might not be because he'll have a newborn.
Child, yeah.
Yeah. But my number 6 though. So I know this was a dislike. But I really liked Becky and Trish Stratus's match.
Oh, you mean
Tiffany Stratton? I do that all the time.
I mean, granted, Becky and Trish did have a good match.
That's true. But Becky and Tiffany Stratton, I really liked their match.
Yeah.
So I didn't and I kind of figured that Becky was going to win because I was like, how in the world is Tiffany Stratton going to beat Becky Lynch? I mean, I guess she could have done heel shenanigans. But the match itself was pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
I really enjoyed the match.
Tiffany definitely showed up.
She did. For
sure. She looked good in the ring. It was pretty it's weird when you say spotless in wrestling. It can mean two different things. It could mean the match didn't have any flaws on it, or it could mean there was no spots to remember. But no, I thought it was a pretty well executed match. We'll go with that.
Yes.
But I agree with you. The ending left me questioning a little bit, but that's just more on the end of kind of feel bad for Tiffany Stratton. I mean, if there's a plan there, it's fine.
Yeah.
But interesting thing about that match that I saw was that match at one point had over 1 million viewers tuned in. So that's why they brought Becky in to do that.
I mean, I get Becky's a big deal. I mean, hello. Yeah. I'm wearing a Becky Lynch shirt right now. Of course, I'm a fan of Becky Lynch. But, and I don't know. I just really liked that match.
Yeah, it was good. It cooked.
Yes.
For sure.
What was your number 5?
My number 5 is I really am intrigued by what we're going to do with CJ Perry and Miro.
Oh my gosh.
Because Miro's stuff is so off the wall.
Yes.
And I didn't even realize that he was yelling this at All Out, but he was just
You're
yelling
not real.
Yeah, he's like, you're not real. And I'm like, so, where the hell is this going?
What? And then CJ Perry's thing, her segment her video package that she did made me wonder, what the hell are you going to do? You have all this freedom. Yeah. You're not in the WWE bubble. What are you going to do, CJ
I'm
Perry?
especially curious because I found out that CJ Perry is behind a lot of the Redeemer stuff.
Yes. So that gives me a lot of faith in this because it's obviously CJ Perry is a lot more I don't want to say talented, more creative than I ever gave her credit for. So I'm very excited. And she's going to be on the Jericho cruise. Yeah. Which is very exciting, which hopefully that means that Miro will be there also. But I'm okay with just CJ Perry, honestly.
Yeah, I could go either way.
Yes.
But Miro would make my freaking day. It would make my day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes. Miro always does off the wall shit.
Yes.
And I'm here for Miro's silliness, especially since now, thanks to Collision, he's got time to do some silliness.
Right. And I just am so intrigued by what CJ Perry is going to do because her video package, I guess, I don't remember what she said, but I just remember after she said it, I was like, what is girl going to do? What is going to happen?
It sounds like she's going to kind of be there to you can't tell from the promo if she's going to be there to help him
or
antagonize him.
Yes, because she was just kind of you left me, and she was like, I'm known as being the coldest manager, which I never thought she was the coldest manager. When I think cold manager, I think Paul Heyman, honestly. But I get that she was cold. I mean, I guess she did cheat on then Rusev multiple times with Liv Morgan, with Bobby Lashley or something. Enzo Amore, right? Didn't Enzo do something with her at one point?
I can't remember.
They set it up or something.
I can't remember.
And who knows what they're going to do behind the scenes, because they had sex in like they had sex like in the what did Miro and CJ Perry have sex in WWE?
The tank that came out in Mania 31.
So who knows what shenanigans we're going to get? But but I'm very excited for that too.
Oh man.
My number 5 is something that I think you're going to find very controversial because it was on your dislikes list. I was very excited when The Rock returned. I
don't have a problem with The Rock returning.
I was shocked by it. I had no clue. Like, whenever he showed up, I was just like, what is I was like, is it really him? I honestly half expected Miz to come out because of what he did with LA Knight.
Yeah.
So whenever The Rock actually showed up, which I guess it wouldn't make any sense if The Miz came out to Rock's music.
No.
But that was my first thought, though. So I was just very excited.
That it was a ruse. I thought maybe it was going to be a ruse and McAfee was going to attack Austin Theory. It was kind of what I thought was going to happen.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. But, man, when Rock showed up, like, that's... Like, LA Knight has had loud pops since he's been back. It still... can't touch what that pop was.
I was going to say, I feel like there's a difference, though, between LA Knight's pop and The Rock's pop.
That's my
because
point.
The Rock hasn't been there in how long?
That's my point. Like, it made the LA Knight pop sound like silence.
It did. Or like, Cody Rhodes, or like Roman Reigns, and like, But The Rock's a big deal. Like, and I don't know if I would think he was such a big deal, because John Cena is a big deal coming back at this point, but he comes around pretty often, so it's not like, oh my god, it's John Cena. But The Rock coming back was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, and what's crazy, I think for us too, it's the fact that like John Cena coming back is usually played as a big deal, but we've seen John Cena live twice now.
Twice, yeah.
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 Which is pretty crazy.
It is. We've got to see quite a few people live. We've seen Shawn Michaels, Trish Stratus a couple times.
Batista.
Oh, yeah, Batista.
The one time that Batista came back in his run before Mania was in Pittsburgh.
His glorious, give me what I want.
Yeah, we were there for the give me what I want gift.
It was very funny in person, there. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, we got distracted. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is the Claudio and Eddie Kingston stuff. Like you said, I feel like Eddie Kingston was never told that wrestling's a show. Everybody that you hate in real life.
Because he made digs at, like, what do you call? He called, like, dirtbag Bryan Danielson or something. Like, he made digs at him and then...
Yeah, and what's funny is, like, he's just sitting there and he's so angry, and Claudio was just giving him nothing.
He was just staring at
him. And I feel like Claudio giving him nothing just pissed him off more.
I feel like it did.
Because, like, Claudio didn't even, like... want his title, and he's just like, I'll put my title up too.
I know.
It's like Claudio played him perfectly.
He did. He definitely did.
And I love it because these two are such mortal enemies, and they're so opposites. Like Eddie Kingston is very loud and emotional and fuck you and all that, and Claudio is just very like, I don't need to say much,
but I'm going to murder you
in the ring. Yeah.
Yes.
So I really love the dynamic between these two.
I do. Obviously, me too, because they made it on my list twice.
Yeah.
My
and I do love how Eddie Kingston's just like, you met my mother. Like,
I know. It's like the personal. I love whenever personal stuff gets mixed into wrestling. I don't know why I love it.
Yeah. And I love that, like, for Claudio, it's all about respect, and for Eddie Kingston, it's all about just fuck you. Like, I love
He wants his revenge.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. I'm not even still 100% sure what Eddie's getting revenge for, but I'm here for it. He seems passionate about it, so...
Yes.
I mean, if he's passionate about it, it's got to be something.
Yes. My number 4, like, of the week was... So, it's Roderick Strong and Darby Allin's match on... I really liked Collision. The September 9th Collision. I really liked Collision. But it was their match on Collision. But honestly, I don't even know if it's like... I honestly think it's that high on my top 10 list because I'm loving Roddy Strong right now. I'm loving him. I'm loving him with the Kingdom. And this match, I love that I got to see like Christian Cage and Luchasaurus beat Darby Allin down before. Like, it was just... Everybody I loved is like coming together. So I just, anytime Roderick Strong or even the Kingdom is on my screen right now, I am really enjoying them.
The Kingdom definitely serves as a great, like the devil on Roddy's shoulder.
Yes.
Like, he never loved you. Like,
Yes.
You're never his friend.
Yes.
Like, they're the perfect, like, yes man, echo chamber, manipulative friend.
Right.
Kind of thing.
And they're funny. Like, I mean, I knew who Mike Bennett was, obviously, because from his WWE run, but I don't know him from any other promotion. So I really chuckled on Rampage's episode from yesterday, where he was talking about how he was going to beat, how to beat somebody. I think it was Adam Cole, maybe, how he was going to beat Adam Cole. And he was like, first you punch him in the wiener.
No, it's if somebody doesn't recognize that.
It's neck injury awareness. Neck injury awareness month. That's what you do if they don't. But he said about Adam Cole though specifically.
Yeah.
But it was just because. But Mike Bennett was just kind of like, you punch him in the wiener, and that was funny to me because I'm like a 12-year-old. So like, I don't know.
There's a lot of funny stuff that went on. So Roddy and Samoa Joe had their finals match in the World Title Eliminator Tournament on Dynamite. Samoa Joe won, which I really wasn't sure who was going to win that match.
I didn't either.
I'm glad Joe won because I love Samoa Joe and everything. Samoa Joe, all this stuff was so close to making my list, but honestly, I kept it off my list because I knew you were going to talk about it. So I left other stuff open for me. But as soon as like Samoa Joe's match is finished, Roddy's in there and the Kingdom's with him, and then Adam Cole comes out to help him. As soon as Roderick saw Adam, he just flopped down on the ground and started grabbing his neck and
yeah.
And then
of
course, as they're stretching him away, Adam.
And it's so funny because Adam Cole at one point was like, "I'm right here, stop yelling!" Like,
what's funny too is like we get to the Rampage you were talking about. Like literally, it's Roddy's neck injury. All of his neck injury stuff has been Samoa Joe related.
Right.
Because Samoa Joe took him out initially.
And he's back in the hospital, supposedly.
Yeah. So Samoa Joe put him back in the hospital. And Matt Taven comes on and he's like, I don't even blame Samoa Joe. I blame Adam Cole. And even Tony Schiavone on commentary was like, oh, for God's sake.
So all of that is just, I don't know. I just love that all of that together is just so much fun.
It's total nonsense. It's a bunch of funny ass people getting together and doing funny ass shit.
Yes.
And there's just like, there's so many things going on with this story. Like, all of that ended on Wednesday with Samoa Joe taking out Adam Cole and telling MJF, he's like, I'm going to take everything from you. And then, like, as he's choking out Adam Cole, he's just staring down at the camera, everything.
Yes, Mojo's intense, too. I love it.
I love Joe.
He
comes out, he did the Max in the same way he did the Wendy. And I was like, oh, I remember.
Yes. What was your number 3?
My number 3 is kind of a bittersweet number 3. So, Bryan Danielson was on Collision, and he was talking about how that he told his daughter that when she was 7, he would retire from wrestling, and she just turned 6. So he's talking about this being his last year, which, honestly, his run since he's come back from retirement, for 80% of it, counting WWE and AEW, has been freaking excellent.
Yes.
It's been phenomenal. He's had a whole other Hall of Fame career following when he came back from retirement.
Yes.
Especially stuff with the BCC.
Yes. He's just so brutal.
His AEW
amateurs.
His AEW run's been incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely stellar. And the Planet's Champion stuff, we both love that.
Yes. Yes.
But he's pretty much said that he's going to take this time and just pretty much wrestle whoever he wants and he thinks it's going to be awesome. And he calls out for Wrestle Dream in October in Seattle. He calls out Zack Sabre Jr., who's considered the current one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. So it's literally the dude that always wins the Bryan Danielson Award against Bryan Danielson.
Well, Bryan Danielson won it last year.
He did, didn't he?
Is it the Daniel Bryan or the Bryan Danielson?
The Bryan Danielson.
It's like they changed it? Or was
it's
it
always
been
Bryan Danielson.
Oh, okay.
So while I'm sad that Bryan Danielson's probably going to be stepping away, I think he'll still come back from time to time. I think he's just going to quit full time. But Bryan Danielson, especially in AEW, he'll definitely be missed as a full-time talent because he's just fantastic.
I'm not even like a big. I really like the flippy wrestling, which I know controversial pick for some wrestling fans. I get it, but Bryan Danielson's probably one of my favorite wrestlers, and that's not even the style of wrestling I like. So, like, I feel like that says a lot about him.
Yeah, and just everything you hear about how good of a dude he is and everything. If it is Bryan Danielson's last year full time, I'm very sad about it. But at the same time, if that means we're just going to get fucking 5-star clinics for the next 12 months,
we're here for it.
Sign me up. You do you, Danielson.
You do you, boo-boo.
Love you. Everybody in wrestling love you. Seriously, there's a lot of people that I've seen knock all kinds of wrestlers. Like Kenny Omega has his haters. John Moxley has his haters.
Yeah.
I really have a hard time finding Bryan Danielson haters.
It's hard to hate on him because he's like a good person outside the ring. And anybody that makes penis jokes regularly, I'm a fan of. So, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my number 3 was the Danielson stuff.
All right. Well, my number 3 was from Raw, and it was Drew McIntyre versus Xavier Woods, which this one, it's not that like, I mean, the match was good, but I have this rated so high because Xavier Woods got to do a showing, and I feel like whenever we'd watch like the New Day wrestle, it was always like Kofi Kingston or Big E. They kind of got that time to shine, and I don't think we ever really got Xavier Woods shining. So this match was mainly this high because I was like, I just like how well Xavier Woods was able to shine.
Yeah, it was a good showing for Woods.
Yes. And it's not even like the match was like amazing. It's just good for Xavier Woods.
Yeah, and we're definitely teasing something with Drew.
Oh yeah, I am fully here if you want to turn Drew McIntyre heel because he is a really good heel.
Yeah, I think so. And see, that's another thing that you could do. You could turn Drew heel. Let Drew feud with Cody.
Yeah.
Heel Drew against Cody. That could be fun.
Yeah.
That could be real fun.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, with the Royal Rumble so close, if you're planning on having Cody win the Royal Rumble anyway, he could put Drew over.
Yeah.
That would put Drew on the map.
Yeah.
And that would set up Drew wonderfully to chase Rollins.
Yeah.
And then maybe have Drew beat Rollins.
You should work for WWE because then we
I don't want to now. They just laid off most of their people because that damn merger.
Oh, that damn merger.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on a rant about that. Mergers are bad for workers, great for executives. That's it. That's the rant.
What's your number 2?
Number 2 for me, I really like what we've done with Shinsuke.
Agreed.
I really like what we've done with him because we had a segment on Raw where Seth Rollins was calling out Shinsuke Nakamura and he's like, I want to fight. Let's go.
Yes.
The whole time he's been told by Adam Pearce he's not medically cleared. So he calls out Shinsuke. Shinsuke's music plays. He doesn't show up. So then we get video on the Titantron. If it's even still called the Titantron. I just call it that because that's what it's been called forever.
I just say big screen because I didn't know the name.
But we get a video there and he's beating up Ricochet. And he looks at the camera and he tells Rollins essentially, I'm not going to imitate his accent or anything, but he essentially just said like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you weren't medically cleared. I already had a fight. Like,
you didn't tell me in time.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight you tonight. I've already got a fight.
So sorry.
Yeah, and I love how smug he is about it.
I love heel Shinsuke.
I love that Shinsuke's purpose right now is to break Seth Rollins and fuck with him simultaneously.
I'm just so happy that we get to see Shinsuke. I loved his heel work. I just really like Shinsuke in general. He's such an odd man, and I love it.
Yeah.
So, I loved it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Nakamura stuff this week.
Well, my number 2 was, we already talked about it, was Ricky Starks interrupting Bryan Danielson. I don't know. I just really I love Bryan Danielson like we talked about. But Ricky Starks, man, has just been putting in the work. Like, he is killing it right now. So just those two talking, like they teased that Ricky Starks was going to join the Blackpool Combat Club, and then he said no, and it's like, I don't know. I just loved it.
What do you think about the reports that Ricky Starks is probably going to go to WWE?
I don't know. I would be worried if I was him go to WWE because they don't always play that well with like the smaller men. Like they're not as big and bulky men. But at the same time, he's so talented. But also at the same time, if Vince McMahon has any power over it, he wanted to put Adam Cole as a manager. So like, I don't know, I guess. guess do whatever you want to do, Ricky Starks. I guess either way I'm going to watch you.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that he seems like he's in a pretty good spot right now, though.
Mm-hmm. I think we're coming into an age now where WWE, if they're going to sign somebody, they pretty much have to say, you know, what they're going to do, because AEW is such a viable option at this point.
Yeah.
This goes back to why AEW was good for wrestling in its existence.
Yeah.
Because WWE could bring in Ricky Starks, and they could treat it like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And if there was no AEW, that would just be the end of Ricky Starks. That'd be it.
Yeah.
But here, Ricky Starks could be like, well, here's what AEW plans to do with me. How are you going to top it?
Yeah.
And it's not just about money at this point.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that changed, too, whenever it came out, those reports that when Triple H was courting the Bucks and Kenny, and he told the Bucks, he said, we'll start you in NXT. If you don't like where you're at after 6 months, you can walk. Like,
yeah. But where you have that 90-day competing clause and...
That as far as I understand, that wasn't part of their agreement. They could leave on the 6-month day and go work somewhere else the next day.
Yeah.
From what I understand. Going back to what you were saying, I agree. Ricky Starks is definitely putting in the work.
Yes.
His match with Danielson and All Out was fan-fucking-tastic.
I kind of wonder, though, like, does Ricky Starks realize if he goes to WWE, though? He says some things that sometimes don't jive with me. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm what you could consider a snowflake at sometimes, and I'm damn proud of that. But I don't know if some of the stuff he says is going to fly on WWE. Mm-hmm. Like, he's made fun of stuttering before. Like, he like finds like sometimes like disability type stuff and hones in on them, which I think is kind of crossing the line.
Like, I think Jake Hager's Lisp was one of them.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if he can do that on WWE. So he might have to literally change his gimmick to be watered down. Well, I consider watered down because you have to be kid friendly. Watered down, like kid friendly WWE. But I mean, it's ultimately his life, whatever he wants to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I see where you're coming from there.
What is your top moment of the week?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by my number one pick of the week. My number one goes to LA Knight, and I'll explain why. When we were going into last night's match on SmackDown, I told you, I said, Miz will probably get LA Knight here, and then we'll continue the feud and go forward.
Yeah.
No. LA Knight won clean as a sheet. There was no aftermatch shenanigans. LA Knight's officially moved on. Yes. And what we've done with LA Knight is we presented a lot of options. So LA Knight said that he cut a promo after the match, and he said that he was coming for gold. He said it didn't matter if it was Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Rollins, and even name dropped Roman. He actually put emphasis on Roman. And what I like about this is after that promo, we cut to the back, and Paul Heyman is watching LA Knight. So LA Knight has gone from dead silent reactions to he's on the Bloodline's radar. And even if he doesn't get all the way to Roman, the fact that that LA Knight could play a part at all in the Bloodline story is pretty exciting for somebody that was a fan of LA Knight when the arenas were still silent.
You were very excited.
Yeah. Like I said, is he absolutely going to lose to Roman? Of course he is.
Yes.
But the fact that they are going to put that out in the universe as a possibility is enough to get me excited at the possibility that we could see that. I don't know that he'll get any higher than maybe on Solo's radar. I don't know if he'll reach Roman all the way.
Yeah.
But if he does, I know that he's going to have the fan support. But my only concern with it is, if LA Knight is pushed to that point, is it going to become another Sami Zayn situation where when Cody comes back around, people are like, maybe LA Knight should have. But at the same time, LA Knight doesn't have the backstory like Sami did.
Yeah.
His would just be hey, I'm here, I want that,
yeah.
And it's done. Sami put in months and months of story.
Yes, he did.
But I just love that we're moving on from The Miz. We're getting into a new feud. It could go anywhere. Interested to see what we do.
Yes.
So that was my number one. It's probably the weakest number one that I've had for a while. Because
but
I can't
blinded by LA Knight.
Well, no, I'm glad that we're taking him in a new direction. Like we're gonna chase gold. Watch me say this, and then on Raw, Miz cuts a promo right back where we were. I'll eat my words then if that's the case. But I like that it definitely seems like LA Knight's finally going to get the backing that the fans have wanted, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I know ultimately if he ends up at Roman, he's going to end up being fed to him, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, my number one moment was something we already talked about. Shinsuke Nakamura right now. I just love him as a heel. He could literally like poop on somebody and I'd be like, God bless it, Shinsuke, I love you. Like,
don't go giving Vince ideas. don't be doing that.
But I just love heel Shinsuke.
Yeah.
And that's really all I have to say, because I feel like I gushed over him earlier. I just love heel Shinsuke.
Yeah.
He's just amazing. And I love his facial expressions. Like, I can't.
He always has a mischievous look about him.
Yes.
Like he has the look of somebody that is standing behind a wall, peeking around, watching you eat your Cheerios that he knows he just pissed in. Like that's what it reminds me of.
Okay.
It's like a little kid almost.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I agree. I think Shinsuke's work is great right now. I'm glad that he's getting some spotlight again.
Yes.
Triple H clearly knows what he has with Shinsuke.
Oh, for sure. He's always booked him marvelously.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention before I did my number one. Shout out, honorable mention. Prince Nana's dancing. I can't get enough of Prince Nana's dancing.
If we're going to do a shout out, honorable mention, John Silver quoting a Taylor Swift song. Whenever he was saying that that the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass are mean, all they are is mean and a liar and pathetic, and instantly I was like, mother effer, that is Taylor Swift mean. Did I not immediately? I was like, that's Taylor Swift's song.
Yeah. So
that's my honorable mention.
Well,
I love when my worlds collide.
Well, you're so into Taylor Swift that somebody could fart in a public restroom and be like, oh my God, that sounded like...
God, that relates to this song.
Yeah.
Because everything we do... Because a little tidbit of information for you guys. I listened to Taylor Swift so much that I was in the top 13% of her fans on Spotify. So I know my Taylor Swift lyrics. But
well, in any case, that's gonna be our show today. We'll be back next week to talk about the upcoming week in wrestling. Make sure to follow us on the socials on Facebook and Instagram at Figures and Flippy S. Leave comments. Let us know what your favorite things of the week were, least favorite things of the week were. And just remember, don't take any of this too seriously. It's all just opinions.
It's just our opinions.
It's just opinions. You may listen to this whole list and be like, wow, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And that's fine.
It's just what we enjoy. And that's okay, because that's wrestling.
Yeah.
There's such a variety. We can enjoy whatever the hell we want to enjoy in wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we will catch you guys next week. Enjoy all the wrestling that's out there. And we'll talk to you soon.
Later.
Did you like that video? Like, subscribe, and comment to the Figures and Flippy Shit Wrestling Podcast. Oh, yeah.